How much faith do you have in Golden State?
They're playing good basketball. To the point where I think all of us were surprised when they lost that game recently that kind of knocked them into the 10th seed. Look, I will admit this, and I said last week, I think I put them in that group of teams, but it's a tight group.
Some people
and they're
would
all
say you
similar
cursed them because it fell apart.
To the Western Conference Finals, that possibility. That's their ceiling. I just got to be honest. They're going to have a tough time just getting into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because now they'll beat Sacramento. I'd be surprised if they lose. Because, look, I might think differently if Malik Monk were playing and Kevin Huerter. The Kings have not been the same. Those two are out. They've been 4-7 down the stretch. So I just think Golden State's going to beat them. Now, New Orleans, assuming they lose to the Lakers, it's not going to be an easy matchup. So I'm just saying, to win 2 games like that, you never know. Once they get there, then you've got
rested OKC.
Yeah. Now, I think I would pick them. I think I picked them over OKC.
Oh, I wouldn't.
I think I picked them over OKC.
Wow. With this show just keeps
and then they'd have the Clippers.
No, or the
the
we're
Mavericks.
so far down.
It's a long way to go. I'll just say this: they are playing really good basketball. They got the fourth best record since the All-Star game. I know people. I keep throwing these out, but that's how well they've been playing.
I agree that that over the last couple months they've played really good basketball. I hate this last week. So they beat the Lakers, and credit to them. It was the next game, and it got lost in the shuffle. But you are playing a Blazers team that had lost 12 of 14, and the 2 wins, they beat them.
They sat.
Well, Steph played 37 minutes in that game.
They sat a couple of other players. Clay and Draymond.
Right, but hold on. Right, because you are confident that, let me give the context here. You have a back-to-back. You have the 8 seed in your hand as long as you take care of business. You're playing a Blazers team that does not want to win games. That has won twice in the last month, and it was against Charlotte and Washington. And those 2 games, the only reason someone wins is because someone has to. And
Scoot's playing his best ball of the season.
Yes, which is a low bar.
In a nod to you.
I understand.
But he actually has played well the last month and a half.
And it's tied with 6 minutes left. And Steph, who Steve Kerr desperately doesn't want to put heavy minutes on. In Game 80, on the first night of a back-to-back, plays 37 minutes, they win. The next night, you play New Orleans, who you could potentially have to play after beating Sacramento if you do that, and you lose. You just lose. And so right now, do I think Steph seems exhausted? The Steph's attempted game winner against New Orleans was a guy who had carried a very heavy load and was taking a prayer shot. Do I think?
Yeah, but you act like he's a running back. Like you think that he's like totally worn out. Like,
and they've actually been
wild.
Playing, but
he was crying on the court, and Steve Kerr said he's carried the franchise for 15 years.
He's got a lot of
but they've played well as his production has diminished.
No, I agree. My point is this: I do not think they are making the playoffs. Bruce Wright that the Kings have not played well. The injuries, so you lose your 5th and 6th best players. I think they're going to lose one of these 2. I'm not sure. We'll talk more about the actual playing games tomorrow.
That's a big step. That means they're done, right?
Yes.
The Warriors is
right. I think the only thing that keeps them together is a deep run.
Correct. And I think that
at least
there is. And I'm not, maybe Rick, our great director, maybe we can bring the beam back for a day.
Let's not go that far.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. And I spent the weekend, as did you guys, with a lot of people from Sacramento. The environment in that arena tomorrow night, where you asked my dear cousin Pee-wee about the Kings-Warriors rivalry.
Yeah.
And what did he say? He's like, we can't really say anything because they're just so
Loves Brock Purdy, though.
Right. He does. He does love Brock Purdy. But they would have an opportunity for the final game Steph, Clay, and Draymond ever play together, potentially, to be a loss to them in their building.
But they...
Okay. With the clips, over. But let's break this down for a second, okay? Because first off, stop with this build up that the Kings are going to, beat them on their court the last time that Clay, Draymond, and Steph are together. First off, there's no rivalry. You know why there's no rivalry? Because the Kings have done nothing. They have done nothing. The Warriors, on the other hand, have done everything. I'm not saying that the Kings don't have a chance at beating the Warriors, but this idea, I mean, they're trying so hard to build this up into this big monumental moment that this might be the last time that Steph, Draymond, and Clay play together, which I don't even necessarily think that that's 100% accurate, even if they do lose, this game or the next and don't make it into the playoffs. To me, it's unclear, but I love how everyone tries to act like they know with, their conviction. And also with Nick Wright saying, he goes, I'm just saying right now that I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Well, yeah, it's harder to make the playoffs when you're the 9 and 10 seed and you have to go 2-0 these next 2 games. Like, that's the whole point of the play-in tournament, is that it makes it difficult. So again, it's not some big hot take saying I don't think the Warriors are going to make the playoffs, because it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. The Warriors are an older, smaller, less physical team, and now they got to go through, especially the New Orleans or the Lakers for that matter are 2 bigger, stronger teams than the Warriors. So it's not the easiest path. But like Bruce said, if they can make it to the playoffs, there is a legitimate path forward for them. I mean, it really, really is. They can beat OKC. They can beat the Clippers. I mean, like they can do those things. So, if you ask me what do I think is going to happen, it's that clearly the Golden State Warriors are going to win, okay? Clearly. They're going to beat the Kings. That I am confident about. That's what I believe. That is what I hope happens. Because, yes, I am indeed a Golden State Warriors fan. But this idea, this is what doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because Nick, in a clip earlier that I have that's already posted by the time you're seeing this video, he just went on to say that he thinks that the Lakers can beat the Nuggets, and then he goes on to then say, and even if they lose their first game, in the playing game, and now they get knocked down a seed and still get into the playoffs, he thinks that they'll beat, that they can still have their run, that it's actually not a terrible scenario because they could beat OKC. Like, pretty much he was implying that they'll be able to run through the West until they get to the Denver Nuggets, and then there could be problems because, LeBron and AD will be all tired and worn down. But he's, mapping out this true, path forward. And then he throws nothing to the Warriors. He puts no respect on the Warriors, which is just insane to me because the Warriors have actually won something recently. Steph has actually won a championship and not one in a bubble, so, get out of here with this nonsense. Like, and I've been very consistent with both the Lakers and the Warriors, mapping out that I think it's really hard for either of them to go far, but it is possible. And then I do think that LeBron technically does have a little bit left in the tank to, kind of be magical, so to speak, but I just think it's harder. It really, really is. And, my argument for saying that the Warriors have a puncher's chance is because they're shooters, right? And so if Steph and Clay are shooting the lights out of the ball, then they can clearly beat anyone, right? They've proven that. But you just don't know. You can't rely on that because since they're older, it's just less reliable. And that the physicality in the playoffs, if you're a player or a team that relies on more physicality, that's more reliable, right? Because it's just like, if you're big and strong, you're big and strong. But as LeBron James gets older, that physicality then becomes unreliable in the sense of you don't know how much you have left in the tank at any given moment. So it's, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But, the Warriors, again, clearly they can beat anyone, especially when, if Clay gets going, Steph gets going, and any of the other, pieces that they have around. But you just don't know. You really, really don't. And that's the problem, especially with a one and done type play in tournament, because Clay may go 8 for 12, or he could go 1 for 9. That's the difference between winning and losing. And there's just no way to predict it. There's zero way to predict it. We just have no idea when that 1-9 game is coming and when that 8 for 12 game is coming. We just have no idea. Does Steph drain that logo 3, or does he rim it out and then he chews on his mouth guard and kind of like does his little walking dance type thing where he's kind of like talking to himself or like thinking to himself? You just have no idea. But you can rely on LeBron being strong and physical, at least for one game. Maybe not deeper in a series when he gets worn down, but he'll be able to still be big and strong at least for one game, probably 2. So it's just a different factor of what's reliable versus what's not. So, moving forward, because the real question is how much faith do you have in the Warriors? I have faith in them, but it's not blind faith, at this point. I don't have blind faith in really any team right now, quite honestly. I'm trying to think not even the Celtics who are, obviously who are killing it right now, but I don't have blind faith. I really can't think of any team, right? I mean, I think OKC can lose. I think the Denver Nuggets can lose. I think the Lakers can lose. I think Dallas can lose. The Clippers. I mean, like everyone in the playoffs, and that's awesome. Like that is exciting. Truly, like I'm genuinely, really, really excited about that because I really have no idea. If Dallas makes it all the way to the finals, I would be pretty surprised by that, or the Clippers. But I'm not going to be surprised if the Timberwolves make it to the championship, or the Nuggets, or OKC. I'm not going to be surprised if the Celtics make it, the Sixers. I would be surprised if somehow the Milwaukee Bucks were able to right the ship. That would be pretty shocking to me personally. I would be surprised if the Warriors or the Lakers make it. I really would. I believe it's possible, and I guess I would be less surprised if the Warriors are shooting great, because that's what they do, and that's what Steph and Clay and everyone does. So I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, about that if that's what has led them to, to be successful again. I would be like, wow, that's amazing. That's what they do. They step up. But I would be surprised if LeBron's physicality, and AD for that matter, would be sustained enough to make a finals run. That would surprise me just from an age perspective. Not because he's not great enough. I think LeBron is obviously one of the best players to ever, play in the NBA, of course. That's not a hot take here. But at this point, the physicality, it's hard for me to forget last season, especially when he got so run down. And I'm not going to keep beating that horse because I'm sure we'll probably talk about it more tomorrow, because that's going to be the big topics on these shows tomorrow. So I'll kind of reiterate those points more in depth. But yeah, but I mean, I also think that there's a real chance, I'll just throw that out there since we're talking about that, the Lakers lose to the Pelicans. I mean, I don't know. It's like, again, I don't have faith in the Pelicans, but Zion might be like, I am here. It's time. It is time. Enough of this. I'm healthy. I'm ready. Let's go. I just don't know. You don't know how much someone can dig deep in a moment. And that, again, is the difference between, again, what I was trying to say, this will be my last point, is what Steph or like a LeBron or some of these bigger, stronger players, when you dig deep and your ability and what can carry you is your physicality, when you dig deep and you're saying enough, right? Like you're max motivated, you can play some bully ball. You can drive to the hoop. You can get those buckets. Steph, if he's like, enough, let's go, he's still going to shoot the ball, and the ball is either going to go in or not go in. He's going to shoot 40% from the three or whatever. Like it's either going to drop or it's not. That's where shooting becomes unreliable in that regard. It's just you can't. That's what I mean by in terms of like reliability. It is why smaller players typically over the history of the NBA can't truly become the face or can't truly dominate in a way, the smaller players, as the bigger players. Like it's something like 6'6" and up is when you can more consistently actually be more impactful, impose your will, which they always talk about that a lot in football, imposing your will. Steph Curry can't necessarily impose his will. He can't lock down on defense because he's just a smaller person. He can play great defense. I think his defense is underrated, but he can't really be like, you are not going to score on me, like a bigger, stronger player can do. And he also can't say, I need a bucket right now. I am putting my head down like a freight train, a la LeBron James. Steph can't do that because he's just not big enough. It comes down to, I'm going to pull up for a three. I'm going to run around, get open and shoot the three. And then at that point, it's a genuine coin flip. It either falls or it doesn't. And if it doesn't go in, it's not because Steph didn't want it hard enough, right? It's just the way the odds work. When it can be 100%. So, yeah, that's what makes the Warriors a more fragile team, but in a way potentially able to put it all together as well, because you just don't know where the coin's going to drop. You don't know. But as you guys know, Warriors fan. So you know what I'm pulling for. But those are just my thoughts I would absolutely love to hear yours. How much faith do you have in the Golden State Warriors? And do you think that they could make an actual run? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with the visibility in the algorithm, and it helps combat all the haters and the trolls. Thank you so much, and see you next time.